Donald Trump is the next president of the United States, as he has been announcing at a victory rally, a victory speech early this morning. We still haven't heard from Kamala Harris. I wonder when we'll hear from her. Well, let's hear now, though, from columnist at the New York Post, Adam Coleman, to find out what he makes of those election results. Good morning to you.
Very good morning to you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Well, I mean, what do you make of the result, and why do you think Donald Trump has won, and won so decisively against Kamala Harris?
Yeah, it doesn't shock me that he won. I think it shocks me in the manner that he won. I believe he won every swing state, or there are one or two swing states that are still counting, but he has the lead. And I think it's in that manner of a landslide victory where there's no questions to be had of any foul play. It's not even close.
Yeah.
I think that's the part where I'm shocked. And the second part I'm shocked is we may possibly see the Republican Party take over all sectors of the federal government.
Yeah.
You know, ranging from the House, Senate, and the presidency. So those are the areas that I'm completely dumbfounded by.
Indeed. I mean, it's an emphatic victory, certainly for that, and a humiliating defeat for the Democrats. Kamala Harris, I think I'm right in saying still there's not been a single county in any US state where they found her doing better than Joe Biden did in 2020, the victory that he won in 2020. Memo to Donald Trump that he did win then. But this is a terrible Democratic performance for one of the worst 4 decades. And look, anyone who's been watching and listening and paying attention would realise why, and it is a terrible, terrible candidate in Kamala Harris, a DEI appointee, and somebody who could barely walk and talk and chew gum at the same time. But also a lot of the policies. When it came down to the policies, and and it is fascinating how many of the commentators, the metropolitan elites, are saying, well, everyone, it turns out, is a racist, sexist pig, and that's why they voted for Donald Trump. But actually, when it comes to the policies, if you look at the policies which Donald Trump has been pushing for and pushed for in 2016 and 2020, and what little we know of Kamala Harris's policies and her views on anything, he was with the mainstream of the American people, wasn't he? On issues like the economy, on border control, on net zero, on freedom of speech, on woke issues, on trans stuff being taught to kids in schools and all of that, on law and order. He was very much in the mainstream. He wasn't the radical. She was.
You're exactly right. I think the reason why the Democrats took such a big hit is because of the complete disconnect from the working class, from the average American. They don't really have their ear to the ground and see what's going on. The other part is the complete ego that they thought that they could just swap out Joe Biden and put in Kamala Harris, which we knew 4 years ago she was a bad candidate when she attempted to run the first time and couldn't run a successful campaign. This time they thought if we get all the surrogates, all the celebrities, bring Obama on his private jet over from Martha's Vineyard and stump for her, then all of a sudden she'll just win everyone over. So it's just a complete ego fest by the Democratic Party. The messaging was terrible. Yeah. And then it just lacks seriousness. She couldn't be direct with her answers. It was always, well, did you see what Trump did? But did you see what Trump did? And the American people don't want that. They want some sort of solution. And they really thought that she could just walk away from any sort of connection to Joe Biden's failed policies. Yeah. And of course, you can't do that.
No, exactly. I mean, there was only 2 answers. You either totally disassociate yourself from everything he said and done, in which case, that's going to cause difficulties, or you accept, you were in the room, as she often claimed she was, every single major decision, in which case you own it all. The borders are that apparently she was, and then she wasn't when it became convenient when her candidacy. But the thing I find fascinating is you mentioned, putting out the stops with the Obamas, the Clintons, although they were a little bit slow at, you name it, absolutely came out for her. Pretty much the whole of the American mainstream media, the ones who'd been covering for Joe Biden's senility for the best part of a year, who then came out for her. All this sort of like good vibes Kamala. I mean, the soft soap interviews, the lack of demand for her to actually do a proper hard take interview and answer some difficult questions, to provide a single policy statement. That took quite a few weeks to get out of her. It is incredible that with all of that behind her, she has still lost so badly.
I mean, it doesn't shock me. You know, the normal presidential campaign takes at minimum a year of running. And there's a reason they go through the primary process. They're basically strengthening how they campaign, right? They're getting the right staff, the right people.
They're tested.
They thought that, exactly, they're tested. And they thought they can just hot swap her up, hot swap Joe Biden out and bring her in and give her a few months for an already bad candidate. Give her a few months in the pressure of trying to win over Americans and give them mixed messages as far as where she stands with Joe Biden on certain things and doesn't. And all of a sudden she cares about this, even though for the past 4 years she didn't care about it. You know, so I thought it was doomed, but I wasn't sure how much hatred for Trump was going to overlook where she's deficient. And
that's where the polling is very interesting, actually. An awful lot of people who say they were going to vote for Trump or have voted for Trump, they don't say, oh, I love this guy. I think he's a great guy. I love him. You know, I want him to, you know, come for dinner at the house. I want to have a beer with him. They don't like him particularly. They find him quite funny, and he is quite funny. He's much more listenable to than she is, even when he does his long, meandering sort of 2.5-hour speeches. But it's about the policies and it's about the reality of their lives, isn't it? How big a factor do you think it was that extraordinary assassination attempt and that incredible, iconic photograph of him raising his fist saying, fight, 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 after that? I want to play a quick clip of what Donald Trump had to say about that this morning. I'd love to get your reaction to that, Adam Colbert, but let's have a listen to what Donald Trump had to say.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission. The task before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite.
Interesting words there, I think, Adam Colbert, from Donald Trump. Quite unusual. He has been a very divisive figure. First of all, saying that God saved his life for a reason, but also saying it's time to unite. What do you make of those comments?
You know, I think after the assassination attempt, you saw a bit of a softer Donald Trump, a little bit less aggressive. When he accepted the nomination from the RNC, you could see that he was a little bit different. He was a little bit calmer. And I actually think that's better for him. I mean, obviously, it's not good that he was shot at, but I think his temperament changed a little bit and focusing on having some sort of unity and making sure that his message comes a little bit clear that he's not all in this for himself. He has the American public in mind, and unity is the most beneficial thing for our country.
We shall see, and I have to say, I don't see much unity ahead. It'll be interesting when we hear from Kamala Harris, you know, how she does accept that defeat, whether it's in good grace or not. But certainly, it's probably going to be in more good grace than Donald Trump in 2020, that's for sure. But what do you make of the role of JD Vance? We've had other key figures. I mean, you know, Elon Musk, of course, we think is going to play a role in this government. Robert F. Kennedy, of course, who ran as an independent, you know, scion of the Kennedy family. A Democrat, you know, effectively biggest Democratic Party going out for Donald Trump, absolutely fascinating there. But JD Vance being picked, virtually unknown. I mean, certainly no one, you know, in Britain had heard of him, but a man with an amazing story, you know, literally living the American dream from great poverty to a self-made millionaire. He called this the greatest political comeback in history. I wonder how much role JD Vance do you think will play in that presidency? But before we get your answer, let's have a little watch and a listen of what JD Vance actually had to say.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
So, Adam Coleman, what do you make of that?
Just real quickly, I'll just say that I think he's the person to look forward to as far as attempting to run for the Republican Party or presidential candidate. I think he's the future. And I think he's shown that he's highly impressive and he has what it takes.
So we could actually be seeing him as presidential candidate and possibly president in 4 years' time?
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't be shocked.
Right, we'll keep that video. We'll keep that video. Thank you very much. Adam, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.